take a look now at where Le'Veon Bell will sign in 2019 free agency. We can look ahead for Bell because his season's over. He didn't report, and I will be stunned of the highest degree if Bell ever suits up again for the Pittsburgh Steelers because they don't need him anymore. They can spend way less money at halfback like they have this year and get pretty similar play out of James Conner. Now, before we look at some of the teams here, remember, limited teams that actually need a halfback and have the cap space. And despite the fact that Lev Bell sat out this year, he is going to ask for a lot of money, and I still think he'll get a pretty decent chunk of change. Todd Gurley sets the mark at 14.4. We kind of rounded here, by the way, as well, of course. David Johnson, 13.3. And then it's a big drop-off. Devonta Freeman a couple years ago. LaShawn McCoy a few years ago. Saquon Barkley, the rookie, is number 5 in per year and number 3 in guaranteed money. Now, I don't think Le'Veon Bell is going to get that receiver-type contract he wants, but I think he can approach Todd Gurley's numbers. I think he will approach, or if not surpass for sure, David Johnson's numbers. So, in terms of contract. He's going to get paid by somebody. Johnson and Gurley didn't hit the open market. When players hit the open market, they typically get more than what other players who signed with their own team did. It just costs more once you hit that free market. So how much is Le'Veon Bell worth? Let me know in the comments section, folks. Look, I think he's going to approach $14 million a year with around that $40+ million guaranteed. Maybe he doesn't pass Todd Gurley, but I will not be surprised if he doesn't, regardless of what happened this year with the Steelers and not playing at all. Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the #1 sportsbook out there. Chatsports.com/bet. Head over there and use promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. Put down $50. They're going to give you $60 for free to bet with for a grand total of $110. Folks, you're playing with house money if you use chatsports.com/bet and promo code LIVE120. All right, so my top 5 teams that could sign Bell in free agency. How about number 5? And we'll work our way down from least likely of these top 5 to most likely, naturally. How about the Baltimore Ravens? Now, think about it from Bell's perspective. He gets to play against Pittsburgh twice a year. I think that matters a little bit for a guy like Bell right now. And you look at their depth chart right now, and they have Alex Collins, and they've got Buck Allen. Now, Gus Edwards and Kenneth Dixon are also on the roster right now, but are they really going to be long-term fits? Are those really the future at halfback? No. Alex Collins is a RFA, make note of that. Buck Allen and Ty Montgomery are UFAs. So you can bring in Bell and have him be your featured back. And cap space for the Ravens isn't as high as everybody else is on this list. They have $35 million projected for 2019. Don't forget, it can free up almost $18.5 if they cut Joe Flacco. And then think about it. Lamar Jackson, Bell, read option in the backfield. That's a fun tandem right there. So Baltimore, I still think is a little bit more of a dark horse. I think they make sense if Le'Veon Bell wants to stay in the AFC. Speaking of the AFC, we'll stick in it here for number 4, the Houston Texans. I think Lamar Miller might be in the last year of his deal with Houston in terms of not actual contract, but they could cut him. Now, Texans have the cap space, $68 million, but of course, Tyrann Mathieu is a free agent. Clowney's a free agent. That's going to tie up quite a bit. And maybe Houston should spend more on the offensive line, but think about it. Deshaun Watson, if you don't cut Demaryius Thomas. DeAndre Hopkins, Kiki Cutie. That's a fun offense right there, right? And I like Deonta Foreman a lot, but he's coming off that Achilles injury. Alfred Blue is a free agent. You can cut Miller. Maybe you let Foreman continue to be that backup type role if you don't trust him to stay healthy, or if he doesn't look good coming back off that injury. Maybe that's where Bell makes sense for Houston. So they're only number 4. I think that they have the money and a bit of a need there, but I think Houston might be better off spending their money elsewhere. Now, speaking of money to spend, the Indianapolis Colts, they have got money to burn, and they do need more help for Andrew Luck. Now, I'll make note, I'm a big Marlon Mack fan, always have been, hopefully always will be, but he's not Bell. Now, he's not making much money, and he's starting to emerge. And yes, the Colts have not been big free agency spenders overall, but frankly, with the way they've played this year, I don't think they're that far out of true contention for the AFC South. And if you need more help for Andrew Luck, you could go and make Marlon Mack your backup. You can trade away one of the other guys potentially as well. Even though the Colts aren't big free agency spenders, with over $120 million in cap space for next year, they kind of have to be on this list. And I love Marlon Mack, But Andrew Luck and Bell in the backfield together, I think that's pretty fun. Plus T.Y. Hilton, you can go draft a receiver with one of those 2 second-round picks you have, one from yourself, one from the Jets. All of a sudden, that offense goes from pretty darn good with a really promising offensive line to, hey, this team might be one of the best in the AFC overall, and not just the AFC South. If you guys like what I'm wearing, go get your own Mizzen and Main shirt. Comfortable.af is the site, and trust me, you will not find a more comfortable shirt, dress or otherwise, than a Mizzen and Main shirt. One more time, that is comfortable.af. That is the URL because they're comfortable as F, you know? All right, number 2, the Oakland Raiders. At some point, right? I don't mean this as a huge dig here. At some point, the Raiders have to add elite talent, right? You can't just trade away every good player that you have. And you have a big hole potentially at halfback. You've got more than enough money to spend, even more if you decide to move on from Derek Carr after this year. Marshawn Lynch, I think, is not going to play next year for the Oakland Raiders. I don't think he wants to play for a bad team, and I don't really blame him either. Doug Martin will be a free agent. I don't know why you'd want to bring him back. He's a plotter. Jalen Richard's played a decent role as a pass-catching back. He's a restricted free agent, but he's not Bell. Washington's also on the roster, and I loved what I saw out of Chris Warren this year in the preseason, but he was an IR stash, and as much as I like Warren, in terms of pure talent, Bell is the better player. So if John Gruden actually wants to throw money at one of these big, expensive players, which hasn't seemed to be his MO as of late, not just even with the Raiders, even back to some time with the Bucs there, I think it'd be a great fit there, and especially for the Raiders franchise that, quite frankly, needs some excitement. I know get some in the draft as well. Getting Bell, if you pay him enough money, that's a good way to go out and fire up the fan base that I think is at least just a little bit depressed with the way things have gone down this year as Raiders continue to struggle. But let me know if you think John Gruden will pay Bell, if you have the chance to, I should say. Give me a heart for a yes and a laughy face for no. If you're watching on YouTube, just type in yes or no in the comments section. My number 1 fit, though, and I feel pretty good about this, so that probably means I'll end up being very, very wrong, the New York Jets. Number 1 rule for any team with a young franchise quarterback: get the guys around him. Offensive line, don't think it's there yet. Receiving core, maybe a little bit. Running backs, I like Isaiah Crowell, but he's the definition of boom or bust. Why don't you go throw money at Le'Veon Bell when you've got over $100 million in cap space? You can front load that deal and make sure the Steelers for sure won't match it, even though they're definitely not going to if they do place the transition tag on Bell. You have Bilal Powell, but he was actually older than I think everyone thought he was, and his career might be over with a neck injury. Crowell, Elijah McGuire, and the rest of that halfback group, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. I don't think they want those guys on there in terms of truly surrounding Darnold with elite talent. So the Jets there at number 1, plenty of money. It's the perfect blend of cap space to spend and the need at the halfback position. So to recap, my top 5 teams for Le'Veon Bell. Number 1, it's the New York Jets. Isaiah Crowell, I like him. He's not the guy that Sam Darnold would love to have, especially for a guy that can help your quarterback develop by taking some of the burden off of him. The Raiders, that'd be fun, right? The Colts have more money than anyone, but maybe they want to stick with Marlon Mack instead. Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, both teams with enough money and a decent enough need. So folks, let me know here on Facebook and also YouTube as well, what team will Le'Veon Bell play for in 2019? Let me know in the comments section. I know there are other teams that have been floated out there, but I think those are the 5 most likely options for Le'Veon Bell. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section.